Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Unbothered. It's Alexa.
And Chloe.
And today I have a good friend of mine, Adelaide Kane.
Hi.
You don't really do a lot of podcasts, so I'm so excited I convinced you to come here.
No, I don't. I don't really. I like to just sort of be home and not do anything, really.
Fair
but
enough.
I was so excited to come and talk the same way we do when we get lunch.
When we get lunch, I feel like I have the best meal kikis with you. There's always food for thought whenever I walk away from a conversation with you.
Oh, that's sweet.
No, truly.
And we just wah.
I know, but you are exceptional at wah.
I am certified D1 yapper.
If you recognize Adelaide, it's because you know her from Grey's Anatomy or Rain, Once Upon a Time. What else could I list off on your IMDb?
Teen Wolf. I was in the first Purge, which always surprises
really?
people. Yeah. I was the daughter. I was running around in a school uniform, crying and screaming, throwing up for a month. In a McMansion up in Sun Valley.
Oh my God.
When I was 21. I turned 21 while I was working on that
That's
movie
wild.
in the middle of summer. It was nuts.
And you've probably also seen her on TikTok and Instagram on socials. You, I think, have mastered the art of, so many actors are very private on the internet, but you've mastered the art of really being yourself, really sharing what's important to you, and also, keeping your life your life. Chloe and I wanted to make a lot more episodes on friendship and on self-worth. You're the first person that came to mind. I'm Adelaide is always the person that is putting in my head really important non-negotiables in dating and in friendships. We're going to talk about dating non-negotiables, friendship non-negotiables, how to accept healthy love. And then I remember you had this hot take about something that's important in dating that I want to conclude with. Conclude this episode with.
Amazing.
So what do you think are your dating non-negotiables? And then Chloe, I'm going to ask you, and then I'll give you some of mine.
For me, the dating non-negotiables, I've heard lots of different rhetoric about it. Oh, you should write out a page in every little detail of what you're looking for in your perfect partner. And then I've heard the opposite end of the spectrum where what are the 5 most important things in a partner? And then I've heard how do you imagine that makes you feel? And there are so many different ways of sort of looking at it and structuring your search for your forever person, if that's something you're interested in it. And some people aren't interested in having a forever partner, and that's fine. For me, and this is going to sound obvious, but priority number 1 is substances. I'm not going to date anyone who, say, does cocaine on a regular basis or even a semi-regular basis or at all. That's not something I'm super comfortable with. And as you become an adult, and if you're in the entertainment industry or a lot of industries, really, you'd be shocked at how many drugs there are in big cities, and it's not cute, it's not fun, especially at my age. My stomach hurts. No.
You're I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons with my cats.
I know. I'm at 11 p.m. at the latest is bedtime. I'm tired. I've got things to do. I want to get up and run in the morning and make a smoothie. That's a really big thing for me. If you can't live your life comfortably, mostly sober, that's a problem. That's kind of the number one thing for me. Strong communication is really important. I know that's really obvious, but someone who can tell me what they want or what they need, someone who can tell me when there's an issue and can communicate clearly about that issue and is also open to communication about issues in response.
Consistency and communication too.
Consistency and communication, yeah. Even if it's I'm having feelings and I don't know why, but I'm having a feeling about this situation, that's totally fine. And it's so important in all aspects of a relationship. If you're communicating about sex, or if you're communicating about where you want to live or how you want to spend your time, or expectations if you live together about housework or bills or whatever, it's really important. And it's important to me in friendship as well. Because if you can't talk out an issue, it signifies a much bigger problem. If you can't emotionally regulate and come to the table when you're having strong feelings about something and have a calm and considered adult conversation about something that's bothering you without blowing up or getting so angry you can't hear the other person's response, that's a problem.
Massive.
So I'd say that leads to sort of the third non-negotiable is I am happy to support my partner when they are going through something, but I need them to be able to self-regulate and get themselves through the little inconveniences of life. If something bad happens at work and they're in a pissy mood for 3 days, that cannot be my sole responsibility. I cannot be responsible for turning that mood around every single time. I cannot be the receiver of that bad energy. Stop, because I would never. If I'm in a bad mood and I'm supposed to meet some friends out for dinner and I don't think I can push past it, then I'll go, yo, I'm in a foul mood. I'm not going to be a good time. I will respectfully bow out. And the same applies to friendships as well. If you cannot emotionally regulate, I'm not going to do it for you. Like, I'm not. Now, if something horrific happens, like if there's a death in the family or there's an illness that you're dealing with or mental health issues, of course, 10 toes to the ground, I will show up to help you in ways that you can't help yourself. I will support 100%. But like the baseline stuff, if you can't process enough to put a bad day aside for the benefit of somebody else, if you can't process smaller, like in the emotional ups and downs, forget about it. Because how are you going to be with the bigger stuff? What if we get married? What if we have children? What about when one of our parents dies and you have to help me through my grief, or I have to help you through yours? Like, if I'm already exhausted from helping you with every little problem that you can't gentle parent yourself through, that's an issue. I like when someone's been to therapy. I like when someone is kind. I like when someone has a good sense of humor and has the ability to, you know, not take everything so seriously. And I like people who like me. As far as dating goes, I like being liked. I've never been that girl that's like, why don't they like me? Everybody. No.
You need to like me.
Disgusting.
I say mine now these days. Everyone's like, what are you looking for? I'm like, I'm looking for somebody that genuinely wants to date me, that genuinely thinks I'm the best, that likes me.
Bars in hell.
The bar's in hell. No, I'm saying it, for some reason, this is like not even the bar anymore. Somebody that likes me and somebody that is genuinely kind. That's the first thing. What are you looking for? Someone that is truly kind.
I've been told I
Non-negotiable.
seem like I'm in a more deliberate phase of my life, or like a very serious like phase of dating, because I expect to be taken on actual dates.
Jesus.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
Do people
Isn't
not
that-
do that now?
Yo. It's
What was like
when I'm like, I expect to be taken to dinner, that's a date.
oh yeah, we were talking about this. Oh, you want to go hiking?
That's 2 + 2 is 4. Hiking.
Hiking on a first date?
No.
Cool, we're friends.
Hiking on a first date? Absolutely not.
I don't
I'll do
like
coffee
hiking.
on a first date, because then if I don't like them, then I can be like, oh, I completely forgot I got to run. That's fine. But hiking, one, is for friends or for long-term relationships. Like when you know someone, you're like, let's just go for a hike. I don't know. We should get outside. Hiking is like, if you don't know the person, when you get there and you start the hike, it's at least an hour. It's at least an hour.
Uphill. Also, I have asthma. I can barely get a word out.
You're like, what am I doing on this hike?
Nice.
I don't have that great cardiovascular either.
Yeah, it's not ideal for me.
It's not great, but it's really interesting. The bar truly is in hell. And like, it is interesting dating. It's interesting how quickly I've started to catch on to, oh, you're interested in sex, but you're not actually interested in dating me. Because when that's not available to you after a couple of dates, the inconsistency creeps in. And I'm like, oh, you really need to get to know me as a person. I'm a lot. I'm difficult, and I'm quite high maintenance. You need to get to know me to know if you want to date me, and that requires hanging out with me a bunch. I'm a lot.
But that's good. That filters out.
It does.
trash.
I haven't had to be like, hey, this isn't working almost at all, because they've done it for me. They've been like, you seem like you're, and I'm like, hey, being in a more deliberate phase of my life, coming from like a 38-year-old who wants kids with a receding hairline is crazy. What are you waiting for? Your senior citizen discount? That's nuts. You're going to wake up at 47, like so many other men I see going, oh shit, still going to the same bars and clubs. Pathetic. Pathetic. And I feel like a lot of men in particular don't know what they want, don't think about it enough. They almost want to be tricked into it. They want to like be dating someone who's like really chill and easygoing for a couple of years and then accidentally get them pregnant and then, oh, I'm a dad now. Ooh. Or be with someone for a couple of years and like they never put any pressure, and then you're 3 years deep and you share a dog and a house and they're like, okay, we're like, mid to late 30s, it's time to get married, and go, yeah, all right, no, that's fair. Like, they want to be tricked into it.
I'm so
I hate
scared.
Tricked into it. And I'm like, this is one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your life, and you want, You want to leave that up to the fates, up to happenstance? You out of your, is that like a type A thing? Sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills and then I'm like, no, I'm right. I am correct, actually.
I do find there are too many of these men in the world. There are some that I feel like know exactly what they want and they're on it. I don't meet those guys as much.
Hey,
and I'm not saying they don't exist.
You can know exactly what you want and then change your mind. That's totally fine. Like I've had men and women both be like, wow, you have the next 10 years planned out. What if it doesn't work out like that? And I'm like, it won't. I've always had the next 5 to 10 years planned out and it never turns out the way I planned it, but at least I have a direction I am heading in and I've changed my mind and I've backtracked and I've gone, nah, scrap all of that. I don't want to do any of that actually. And then change my mind again 6 months later. At least you're moving in a direction instead of just waiting for life to happen to you because boring.
Totally. I mean, if anyone knows about planning life and it not working out the way you think it's going to, it's me. But it's also the beauty of it. You don't need a plan when you have your non-negotiables. When you do know your worth and your standards and something you will not tolerate, it makes the mystery of life a lot easier to navigate.
It makes dating a lot easier as well.
Totally.
Because you meet someone and within 30 minutes, you're like, nope.
And thank God, at least you're not wasting your time.
It does get easier the older you get, truly.
Do you believe in the taxi cab theory for men? Do you know what that is?
I do know what that is. I think that's a sword that can cut both ways. I definitely have encountered some women who have gone, I'll take whoever I can get because the clock has been running out. I think that it is dangerous to make that assumption about all men. The same way it is dangerous to make assumptions about all women in dating. I think for some people that is indeed true. I think that women far more than men are deeply considered in what the future holds. I don't know a single woman who hasn't thought deeply about marriage and children, whether they want it or not. We all think about it because we have a timeline in which to get that done, unless you can afford to freeze your eggs and go through that process, and then you get sort of another 10 years. But even then, there is a set time, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be having a kid at 48. I don't want to do that. That sounds exhausting and awful. Women think about it a lot more because they have to, and we have to make those decisions a lot earlier than men do. I think a lot of men don't think about it. They don't think about it enough. They go, I've got all the time in the world. And then they wake up one day at 33 or 35 or 38 or 42 or 47 and they go, shit, where did the time go? And they scramble to figure out, oh, well, I do want those things. I guess you should have been thinking about this far, far, far more deeply. Far more deeply. And when you wanted to do, like, when do you want to be a dad? Do you want to be a first-time dad at 45? Does that work for you? Because if it does, that's totally fine. But that's anywhere from 3 to 5 years of being with the person you want to spend your life with and parent with. That makes me nuts. And I see it in both women and men. I think a lot of women will marry a man specifically who they think will make a wonderful husband, who's a great boyfriend. For me personally, if I were to marry, whether I marry a man or a woman, it's important to me that they are not only a good spouse, but a good parent too, at the same time.
Exactly.
At the same time.
I think about this all the time.
There are some men who are great boyfriends, great dads, not great husbands, cannot do both at the same time. That's really important. Because if I'm an unhappy mom, I'll be a bad mom and I'll be a bitch. Like, no way.
How are we figuring out if they'll be good at the same time before putting them in that position? Is it like just adopting a dog?
I mean, it's just observation. Like, how are they with children? How are they with you and with your home and with pets that you have or with their friends during times in their life when they are stressed? If they're having a hard time at work, how do they treat you? Do they still show up for you in a relationship? Do they still show up for their friends? Are they still capable of showing up in whatever capacity they are able to? Do they still make it like that? I feel like is a really big marker for me. How do they behave towards their family? How do they behave towards their friends, male and female? Do they have female friends? Do they have male friends? Do they have a mix of the two? What's the relationship with their family, with their parents, mother and father? That's really important. How does their father treat their mother and how does their father behave in being a husband? For men specifically, same for women because we tend to emulate our parents. And if you're dating a man who's grown up in a really healthy, stable household in which his father or his, mother's husband has really shown up and has demonstrated caring for their mother in above and beyond the norm, the same way that women show up for everybody in their lives, that's a pretty decent indicator.
Yeah, and I think one thing is it's like if it's somebody that hasn't grown up in those environments, it's someone who's really taken accountability and said, I'm breaking the cycle in this.
Yeah.
And they know exactly. It's almost like sometimes it can even be like an even greener flag because they've seen everything that they won't accept growing up.
Yeah.
And they know that that's something that they actively want to change. Like I had a guy friend recently
Absolutely.
confide in me say like he just has had like the most turbulent relationship with his dad and has just had a really, really, really hard upbringing. And he came to me and he was really vulnerable and he goes, I'm really anxious that this girl that I really like won't want a future with me because I can't provide like good grandparents for, you know, the kids I hope to have with her one day. And I was like, you are, first of all, the most amazing guy friend to me. So I can't even imagine, which like we've never gone there. We're just platonic friends. But I cannot even imagine if you are such a good like brother figure to me, how incredible you're going to be as a husband because it's been such a priority in your life to be good at that. He tells me, he goes, I just think every day I want to be better. I want to make sure I'm fully healed because I want to be the husband that she deserves. I want to be the dad that our children deserve.
Well, see, even that rhetoric is so telling. Like when you
Yeah.
ask a man or a woman, what do you want your future for? It's very telling if they say, being a husband is different from having a wife.
Completely.
Being a dad is different from having kids. Like being a wife and a mother is different from having a husband and children. It seems very small, but I pay attention to that as well. Like, and even in how I ask that question, like, how do you feel about kids? Do you feel really strongly about being a dad? Is that something you really want? Is that something that you're totally happy to do if your partner wants it? And that's a green flag answer for me. If I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh, I love kids, I think they're great, I'd be okay without them. It's whatever my partner wants. I am more than happy to do. Because I personally, after I have kids, I would like to still remain a priority. I'm not a big believer in like the children then become the priority over your partner and everything else. They are a priority, arguably one of the top ones, but you should still prioritize your partner and you should still prioritize yourself in your life as well. I feel like it should be equal sharing. This could be a controversial take. It probably is. But you should give equal share for the health of the family unit.
Yeah, it reminds me of when you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first on a plane when you're crashing
100%.
before everyone else. I think if you have an unhealthy dynamic with your spouse, how are you providing a healthy dynamic at home for your kids? You know,
yeah,
you
but
need
also
to water.
like if you're parenting, kids are little monsters. They're the best. I love them, but they're chaotic little
They're
monsters.
tiny drunk people.
And it's you and your partner. You're the team. It's you against these little vomiting, shitting sociopaths who are constantly trying to stick stuff up their nose and kill themselves. Like, this is the team. It's you and me against these chaos.
We got to make them good
creatures.
people.
Chaos.
You got to raise them with as minimal trauma as possible, feeling really loved and feeling really comfortable and exploring the things that they enjoy and finding happiness and teach them how to emotionally regulate. And that's a huge thing I think about all the time is like, am I therapized enough? Because kids learn from what you do, not what you
Sponges.
say. And I'm like, cool, I need to make sure that I'm living my life in a way that is modeling something that my kids will absorb organically and will help them have a healthier, easier time of life and adulthood than I had.
It reminds me of something that you said at one of our iconic lunches. I remember you looked at me and it was the first thing you said. You go, I'm dating now with my happiness needs to be his priority, which I think is amazing. And I want you to elaborate on because I think people always think that like, he's giving me time, he's giving me attention. But I think genuinely to be in a happy relationship with a man, my happiness needs to be his priority.
100%.
Happy life, happy wife.
100%. It has been interesting having dated women consistently for 4 years going, okay, maybe I'll try dating men again. It is easier, and every bisexual knows this. I'll give this a shot. Maybe I'm really enjoying being alone. I tend to be like a serial monogamist. I like being in relationships. The longer I am single, the more I'm loving just not having to deal with anyone.
I've been single for 1.5 years and it's kind of awesome.
Like, you know, male, female, non-binary, nobody. It's really nice. For men specifically though, like coming back around to date men again, I'm like, ooh, the standard is different now. It is extremely different and it's strict because what do I look like? My friends treat me better than most dates do. Okay, my friends will buy me dinner or will take me to get a massage, will bring me a little treat for no reason, will call me up to ask me how my day is and will let me yap about whatever it is. And they're not trying to sleep with me. Like,
I just want a hug. I just want your presence.
truly.
I just want to soak up your vibes for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
I'm spoiled rotten and it's my friend's fault. And
But I have to say, you're spoiled rotten with friends because you're a fabulous friend.
I also like to spoil my friends too.
You do
because
spoil me all the
you
time.
shouldn't be dating someone who doesn't treat you as at least as well as I do. That's
Exactly.
crazy.
Do you find that it was the same when you were dating women, or
No, I got very lucky with both of my girlfriends. I know that there's horror stories no matter what your orientation is. Both of my ex-girlfriends are like wonderful, kind, loving, very communicative, fantastic people.
I remember you used to make such good content with one of your ex-girlfriends. I loved it. You guys were like precious together. And you've only ever said amazing things to say about every girl you've dated.
They've been amazing. And I've certainly had not great dates with women, but generally speaking, my experience with women has been overwhelmingly positive. They are wonderful. Women are wonderful. And, you know, it didn't work out for whatever reason. Long distance or different stages of life or different priorities for the future, or I had some mental health stuff and that's easier for me to deal with alone. Women are much easier to date for me personally, in my opinion, because there are some things that you just don't need to explain to them.
Yeah.
I didn't need to ask for my ex-girlfriend to have my favorite snacks at her house. For me, she just did it. I didn't have to ask for flowers on a semi-regular basis. She just did it. Like wonderful things like that where you just don't have to ask for some things. The flip side is it can be a very, very dangerous world to live in for queer couples. I will say the craziest thing I realized when I was dating women is I didn't realize how much anxiety I had about unplanned pregnancy until that was no longer an issue.
Yeah.
Until that was no longer an issue. You cannot accidentally get pregnant with another person who owns the same equipment as you do. That's not a thing. That can happen by accident and completely throw off my entire career and life and all of my plans before I'm ready for it. Both sides have their pluses and minuses. It just has been very interesting dating men again because I'm like, no. You have to like really.
You're like
my happiness
feminine
has to matter to you because if I am happier without you, you need to make me happier than I am by myself. And at this stage, that's tough. That's really tough at this stage. It is.
One thing that you said, and then I want to talk about dating non-negotiables again, was you were saying that you have a hard time when you're dealing with mental health stuff to go through in a relationship. That's something that's really parallel for me when I'm having to accept something within my own mental health. Like for me, I was grateful that I found out I had ADHD when I was single because I got to talk to my friends about it. You had mentioned that you had ADHD to me and you were one of the first people I talked about when I got the diagnosis. I was like, this is so scary. This is really freaky. And you kind of were able to analyze me and say, I've never said it, babe, because you never asked, but you do all these things and that is the most ADHD coded thing ever. Like,
yeah,
you
and
need to work on this.
It's not like my job to diagnose anybody else, even when I do see parallels in my own behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny to me because I feel like I never understood, I still don't understand the stigma with ADHD.
Because I think it's a superpower and I think it's kind of cool.
It can be, and it can also be crippling. It is
It is.
both. It is just different wiring, and like anything else, it has its pros and cons.
But why do you feel like when you're going through something like a new mental health discovery or like a big mental health blockage that being in a relationship makes that more difficult?
Because I will do anything to not prioritize my own issues. I will sweep it under the rug and be like, I have to focus on my partner. I will, take care of my partner or focus on somebody else going through. It's just been years of learning not to do this. I will prioritize my partner over my own well-being. Not only because I want to take care of them, but also as an avoidance tactic to
Mm.
avoid dealing with my own issues. And also I really struggle to share when I'm going through a hard time with friends or family because I don't want to burden them, which is insane because when they do the same with me, I'm like, of course, I would
Yeah.
love to help you with that. And I got told off by a friend for not sharing more when I was having a hard time because it made her feel like I didn't trust her.
Oh, wow. No, I realize that. And that's like a tough pill I've had to learn how to swallow is that I'm somebody too that would always show up for everybody. I always want to make sure everyone's okay. I caught myself 3 times this month telling my friends, don't worry, I'm here to help you pick up the pieces. But I rarely let my friends know when I'm going through anything. And one of my friends told me, it's not fair for you to do that because I want to be there for you. Being there for you and understanding you and supporting you is a gift to me. That's what friendship is all about.
It's the
Don't rob that from me. I know what to say right now. I understand you. I've spent years seeing you and knowing you. Don't take away the opportunity for me to also learn about myself and for me to properly support you through this time. That's how we get closer. And my friend was even saying that's how I feel better. And she's a poet. And she's like, it helps my art. She was like, you're taking away from me doing better at my job. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll start burdening you with all my problems. But even me saying that's a burden, like it's not. That's just what you do with your friends. And that's the whole fucking point. Chloe, I do want to hear your dating non-negotiables.
Well, I've been in a really long-term relationship, so like I don't know if I had to re-enter the dating world, how I even would begin to approach that.
What do you think they would be?
I think that my non-negotiables are 1, emotional intelligence, which you just gave a beautiful speech about, so I don't need to touch on that again, but it is so crucial to me. I cannot be teaching a man how to be a man anymore. I spent all of my 20s doing that, and I don't want to have to do it again. I want him to come pre-seasoned at this point, cooked. Ready
Fully
to
cooked
go.
man. My therapist would always say that. She's like, why are you wasting your time with these men that are going to give you salmonella? You need a fully
Half-baked.
cooked man.
Yeah, I don't want half-baked. I'm good. And I also think that there's a really big difference between someone who wants a wife and someone who wants to be a husband. Someone who wants a family or someone who wants to be a father, wants to be a dad. And I just think that's such a small, thing when it comes to how it sounds, but it's such a huge difference in how someone behaves and acts. And I would just really be on the lookout for, is he wanting to show up in all of these ways, or is he wanting to fill a spot in his life that he feels obligated to because his mom's been asking when he's going to get married for like 6 years.
I'd rather be alone than be with that man. I'd rather be
Yeah.
alone forever than be with that man.
Die 1,000 deaths. I agree with you 100%. It's also like I'll date someone that's like, I am so willing to teach you how to make me happy, and I'm so willing to learn how to make you happy. I'm not willing to teach you how to be happy by yourself, though. You gotta figure that out.
100%.
Like, I have flexibility. I don't expect anyone to be absolutely perfect, but I would like to find someone who's perfect for me.
Every person comes with their shit. Everyone has their thing. Everyone has something that's not great about them. Everyone has things that are great about them. But it's being able to look at those things that aren't so great and say, like, I can make this work. This is not a deal breaker for me. This isn't the end of the world.
Yeah, maybe you guys find this too, but as I get older, like the list of non-negotiable stuff that maybe, or like preferences that existed in my 20s, it's much shorter now. There are things that were important to me in my 20s that just don't matter anymore.
I used to just want to date a really tall guy. I loved being like 5'3" and dating a guy that was at least a foot taller than me. And
Ouch.
now
My
I'm
neck
like,
is like cramping. No, no way.
now like send me a short king. Send me a wonderful
With a lethal face card.
with a lethal face card and a heart of gold. If he's 5'6" and he's the nicest person with a lethal face card and knows how to make me happy, I want him. Send him my way.
You know what I love, and I get funny looks for this, but whether, like, no matter who you are, male or female, anything, I find competence really sexy.
It's necessary.
Like, competence. Like, you don't have to be able to build me a house or cook a gourmet meal, but just baseline. You can hang a picture and change your oil. If you get to your doctor's appointments every year, you do your dental cleanings.
The bar truly.
Like,
Or
you
if I
keep your
can,
house clean and there's a sense of style there that is yours. You don't have to be the most stylish person on the planet. I might even not even like it, but you have like a sense of self and you have your hobbies and you're competent and you like hot. And you would think, but for men and women both, because I've met plenty of women who are not competent, who are wonderful and adorable and so sweet. Can't boil an egg, can't put together a small piece of IKEA shelving. And
I
I'm
was
like,
just
why
about
can't
to say.
I'm like,
Nothing.
you just read the instructions, babe. Like,
I think there's an IKEA test that needs to be done.
just a base level of
Like a
competence.
cabinet.
Maybe that's a good like 10th date. Do I really want to be with this man? Let's build some IKEA furniture together.
Yeah. How competent is he? Like a little litmus test.
And it's so stressful too. Like, how do you communicate when you're frustrated with the fact that you think I'm putting the shelf on upside down? Also very important, but just competence. You got to be able to handle life, because life comes at you. It really does. And if you don't have the ability to pivot and to adjust,
Mm-hmm.
Scary.
To figure it the fuck out.
yeah, I mean, if a sea change out of nowhere is going to throw you for a loop and leave you in disarray, I'm very flexible as a person. I have had to be.
Also, you're an actor. I feel like that you have to be the most
Yeah.
emotional.
You got to be
schedule.
ready to pack up and move to a different country if you book a job.
How
like,
long were you in? How long did you film Rain for?
4 years
In Canada.
in Toronto, yeah.
That's so wild. How old were you?
24.
Oh my God,
I
wow.
got the pilot when I was 23. At the time, I was like, I think I'm too young for this. And I was like, okay, well, it's happening.
This is kind of a big question, but it's something that I like. Perks of Being a Wallflower is my favorite. I recently rewatched the movie. And the first time I read the book was when I was in a really, really hard time in my life. And I used to always, we accept the love we think we deserve. That was something that I would always play in my head. And that phrase has meant so many different things to me as I've gotten older. And I used to think like, oh, I love my friends. I love whatever. Of course, like I'm accepting the love I think I deserve. And I realized that I probably semi-recently understand the love I actually deserve. And I realized I have never been good at accepting any form of love. Up until recently, it took me a really long time. And I want to bring it up just because I feel like you're kind of the person to answer this question. Like, do you think you deserve, like, actually accept healthy love? And do you think, it's a huge question. Do you believe you have allowed yourself to accept healthy love? Because you're somebody that loves so big, but can you actually take it from other people?
It's been a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with my therapist about how I show up in friendships and relationships. And I show up with a lot and with a lot to give. And if that's not reciprocated, I can be disappointed. Not everybody has the same level of, I hesitate to call it generosity, but let's just call it that. Not because they are not capable, but because it takes time for that level of care to be earned. And I come into new friendships and new relationships at a very high place already, which is a little bit of a trauma response to not having needs met when I was younger, and also a trauma response to abandonment. And I would maybe suppose that you and I are similar in that we give a lot in our friendships and relationships and expect little in return, because in some way it is us attempting to ensure that we will not be left. We are so useful and we are so important to someone that they will not leave us. And so I've had to adjust to, one, accepting reciprocity, and two, meeting people at their level instead of meeting them at mine, because my level is, one, very, very high, and two, in a lot of ways can be unhealthy with someone who hasn't earned it through like shared experience and time. It's inappropriate, and I've probably scared friends off by doing too much, and it has been too much, and they have recognized it as being an unhealthy attempt to attach, almost love bomb in a way. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing until I was like, oh, okay, I have to meet people at their level. And it has made a lot of people in my life a lot more comfortable, and has made it much easier for me to make new friends because I meet people where they're at. And then we can grow in investing in that friendship or that relationship together in whatever that looks like, whether that's quality time or whether that's little gifts or...
You're big on love language. And I
am. One of my best girlfriends says that her whole goal for me in finding a life partner is to find someone who is as generous with me as I am with everybody else. And she doesn't mean like just financially or paying for someone's dinner or getting them a good gift, but she means like with time and with energy and with consideration, with like thoughtfulness and like acts of service. She'd love to see me with someone who like meets me at that level really consistently,
I would hope that for you too, because you deserve that.
Yeah, and I've experienced versions of it, but as I get older, those things change.
And another thing I've been thinking about too is, do you believe that love is conditional?
Yes, I do. I think unconditional love is reserved exclusively for your children.
I believe that too.
I truly do. Yes, of course love is conditional. Of course it is. I'm not going to love you unconditionally if you start verbally abusing me and get emotionally distant. I'm not going to love you unconditionally if you behave in a manner that I find morally and ethically reprehensible. I'm not going to love you unconditionally if you continue to hurt yourself in the same cycle and pattern over and over and over again, and I have to show up consistently to put you back together because you keep making the same mistakes. And I say that as someone who has been that person. And I am lucky that some of my friends have stuck with me when I have continued the same detrimental patterns until I grew out of them. You can't help someone save themselves. They have to save themselves. You cannot fix someone. And I've certainly tried to do that. And as someone who's had to save themselves, it truly, nothing anybody was going to do was going to fix me and my stuff until I decided to do it. And yeah, love is absolutely conditional, and it should be. It should be. You shouldn't give your all to someone whose behavior has changed or to someone who treats you poorly because you love them. No, that's not enough. I'm sorry. That's not enough. Being truly, madly, deeply in love with someone who treats you poorly or disrespects you is irresponsible. It's a form of self-harm. It's no, you shouldn't. No.
Yeah. Love is everything, but it's not enough.
It truly isn't. You want to have a fun, sexy, giggly sleepover with your best friend for the rest of your life. Like that's the goal. But if you're with someone you love who makes you miserable, it's not enough, and it's not enough to sustain a lifetime.
For sure.
Wow, my heart is really full. I could just cry. I feel like this was like the best conversation ever.
Love.
Love you.
In all of its forms.
Every time I've come to you with either friend drama, career drama, you've been the person that's called me out on always spreading myself way too thin. You've just called me out on all of my shit, on so many things that people don't pick up on. But the one thing that you've always really, really stressed is making sure I'm always the center of my own universe.
I'd never call someone out about something I haven't been guilty of myself. You have a tendency to, when you start feeling overwhelmed and overburdened, you add more to your plate in a deliberate attempt to burn yourself out because you don't like stopping. It is very unsexy taking care of the meat sack that your soul resides in. I don't know. I think that sometimes hey, this is what you're doing. Just want to make sure you're aware that this is what you're doing. And if you know, great. I'm just letting you know that I see it and it's all good. And I'm just making sure that we're both on the same page here. And you can totally go in that direction. You can decide to move to another city. You can do whatever. And I will be here to support you through that. Maybe you're biting off a little bit more than you can chew. And I think some people don't love how blunt I can be, and I've certainly learned to soften my bluntness, but nothing drives me more insane than asking someone, hey, what is your honest opinion of this situation or this thing that I'm doing in my life? And them going, oh, well, like whatever makes you happy, or giving me some half-assed response. Like, no.
Protect
if you
me.
see something I'm not seeing, tell me, even if you think I'm not going to like it. Especially if you think I'm not going to like it, because if I have a strong reaction to that, that tells me something in and of itself. While keeping yourself your main focus and your main priority is important, I think there is something to be said for what we owe the people who love us in our lives and the people that we love.
And that's where I just want to end it with, what are the true friendship non-negotiables in your life? And you too, Chloe.
Yeah.
I mean, I can start. For me, it's just I have friends for everything. I have party friends that I don't expect a lot out of. I have people that I work with or like in the creator space that I think are lovely and I love bumping into them. I don't expect a lot out of them. I have friends that I travel with in a big group, expect a little bit. But I think for me, like a real close friend in my life, I expect honesty. I don't expect them to be able to call me out, but I really love it. And it's how I feel like I can get closer to people.
Yeah.
And I think that the other thing is like I'm just a fiercely loyal person, and loyalty is just so important to me. If I feel like somebody was speaking poorly about me in a room, I need to know as my close friend that you said something about it. Not even just didn't partake. You said, that's not cool. That's my friend and you're speaking poorly on their character.
And you were like, I'm going to stop you right there.
I'm going to stop you right there because
really close with me. So if you want to have this conversation with anybody else, not here.
Yeah.
This
I'm not the
isn't-
person. I'm not the
I'm
person.
not the one. And it's crazy that you felt comfortable talking shit about that person to me. That's crazy.
Yeah. So those are mine mostly. You don't have to call me every day. I'd actually rather you not. We're in adult relationships.
Yeah.
We're in adult friendships at this point. I am a
Yeah.
low maintenance friend, even with my closest friends. I will meet me in Paris in June.
I probably will.
Yeah, meet me in Paris in June. Call me once a month. Or don't. We'll have a 5-hour lunch when I see you.
It's nice to be able to pick up where you left off with someone.
It's magical.
Because you can trust that they are so solid in who they are as a person that they are not going to change that much.
No.
I think, one, I don't want yes men. That's my worst fear, is to be surrounded by yes men. I can't even fathom the idea. I need my friends that have their opinions exactly as you've both expressed to call me out, or not even call me out, but like you said, I decision trees. I also think in decision trees, it's like, okay, here's outcome 1, 2, 3, 4. Like workshop them with me and help me choose which options we're eliminating. I
And
love
don't say,
that.
I don't know, they all sound fine. Like, no.
Yeah, or just like, that's crazy, or oh, that sucks. Like, I need an active listener, and I would like to be one for them as well. Loyalty. I don't want you to ever, if my name's being brought up in a room, I hope it's because you're saying something nice. I think that a lot of fake friends will use your name for conversation, and that scares me.
It's so boring.
I have my close friends and I'm not very good at having like looser ties. Or like not like like a second tier of friends who are close and who I enjoy spending time with and who I share certain parts of my life with, but who I'm not going to call up and get really graphically, intimately deep with about my current existential crisis of whether or not there's going to be an earthquake and I'm going to get swallowed and my cats will be abandoned because I'm dead in the center of the earth.
I don't need my karaoke friends freaked out by my
because I
my
get
crisis of the
I get
day.
really intense.
We can just sing life as a highway and leave it at that.
Exactly. I'm not very good at that because my impulse is to crawl into another person's skin and have them be in mine. But as far as like friendship non-negotiables go, strong communication is really key. They have to be able to come and be like, hey, this bothered me, because I am always open to that conversation. I'm always open to, I had no idea that made you feel that way. And I'm always willing to adjust. And also just like someone I can have a good time with and who I don't feel self-conscious around.
That's a big one.
I feel like with a
Yeah.
lot of female friendships, especially out here in Los Angeles and especially in the entertainment industry, there is a self-consciousness around like optics and physical appearance, who's doing what with whom, and that I really don't fuck with.
Yeah.
If I feel like I have to put on makeup and put on an outfit and I
No.
have to
No.
be primed for that every time we hang out, that's an issue. No, boo, tomato, tomato. Absolutely not.
I have literally had someone tell me like we can't hang out anymore because you don't fit my aesthetic. And that was when I
That's
was like,
crazy.
someone said
though.
that to me. Someone said that to me.
That's so nuts.
An
because,
influencer girl.
like,
What's the aesthetic?
She had a little group of friends and they all looked the same. And she was like, I really like you and you've been a great friend to me, but
oh my God.
you don't really fit like the group aesthetic. And it just doesn't look good for our content.
That brings up another friendship non-negotiable for me. They gotta be different from me. They cannot be exactly the same as I am. They cannot be a carbon copy of me, because one, I get to know you better, and two, you broaden my horizons and you teach me more about not only yourself but about the world. And it's interesting.
So cool.
Have different style from me, so I go, ooh, would that type of pant silhouette look good on me? Probably not.
This has been such an amazing hour. I love this episode so much.
Where can people find you? What are your handles?
You can find me on Instagram at Adelaide Kane and on TikTok at The Real Adelaide Kane.
And then Grey's Anatomy.
And Grey's Anatomy. Oh, yeah. Well, the show that
I'm like, Adelaide is
that
on
I've
a
been
show.
on for the last 3 seasons.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to follow us on socials, it's at Totally Unbothered on Instagram, and TikTok is Unbothered Club. Don't forget to rate the show at 5 stars, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Adelaide. Love you.